Okay, so hello everybody and welcome to this webinar. I hope you can all hear and see us very well. My name is Jesse. I'm leading the product marketing efforts here at Frends Technology. I'm also joined here by our fearless Chief Technology Officer, Asmo Urpilainen. Would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone, and great to be here. Really excited to talk a bit about AI with you all. And yeah, thanks for hosting and having me. Yes.
Of course, of course. So before we get into it, a little bit of housekeeping. So if this is going to be a little bit of an Ask Me Anything webinar, so if you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to use the questions tab in the bottom right-hand corner, and you can ask your questions throughout the entire webinar. And then at the end, we will go through and see how many we can get answered at the end. For those who maybe weren't able to attend, the webinar will be made available, the recording afterwards as well. I think we're going to send out some follow-up emails with the recording. Yeah, so I will pull up quickly the agenda and have a look at what we're going to be talking about. So first off, we're going to have a quick overview of what agentic AI really is and what it means in the context of integrations and the kind of automation industry, and then why really what are some of the challenges that organizations are facing and why are they struggling to scale some of their AI pilots or their AI implementations. And then we will dive a little bit deeper into the Frends AI features, primarily what we've just recently released in our 6.1 version, which is the Frends Intelligent AI Connector. Then we'll talk a little bit more about the business impact and the benefits for organizations, talking through some use case examples, maybe some simpler ones and some maybe more complex ones also. And then we'll have a look at what the future of AI really holds for this industry and what it means for Frends coming up in the years to come. And then, as mentioned at the end, we will have a question and answer session, and we can allow you guys online to pick the brains of Asmo here and yeah, maybe ask some slightly more challenging questions.
Please do.
So let's get into it then. So we're just going to have a chat about this. So yeah, Asmo, let's talk about agentic AI and what it really means in terms of the context of automation and integration.
Yeah, that's definitely a hot topic potato, yes, as I think everyone is aware. And I think it might be good that we do a little bit of definition / taxonomy here in the beginning, so that we can all be on the same page once we start really getting deep into the technical details as well as the, let's say, overarching storyline. So as we like to think about AI here at Frends, I think typically we are, of course, focusing on a subset of AI in general that's relating to integration and automation. But as a bigger picture, of course, everyone is familiar with ChatGPTs and different types of AIs that help, for example, users talk to their data. But of course, in our webinar here today, and of course, we here at Frends, we're mostly interested in the automation and integration portion or the subset of AI. And within that context, I think it's very important for us to understand that once we mention the term agentic AI, I think we kind of loop two different types of solutions, or let's say capabilities under that. So we would typically talk about something called AI-powered workflows or AI-powered integrations, where we bring the capabilities of AI to assist in fairly typical, or I would say traditional integration scenarios. and we would label that, like I said, as AI-powered workflows or AI workflows. And that's, of course, now that what we're enabling with our Frends 6.1 release, and of course, a little bit more on that later. But the other side of the coin, and I think this is the important bit, we hear everyone talking about AI agents. AI agents are everywhere. Agents are coming and they're going to take our jobs and they're going to automate the entire world. But I think from our perspective, we should define what an AI agent actually is. And our definition is that an AI agent should be an autonomous entity, basically meaning that it can act without the intervention of a human. It can start itself. It knows what the goal of the task, or what the task given to the AI is. It's able to interact with the outside world independently. And of course, that's very, very critical and important to understand that without the capability of the agent to actually connect to different types of systems, data sources, interact outside of, let's say, its own silo, we wouldn't really consider that an agent at all. And of course, the final piece of the puzzle is then the reasoning and the capability to adapt on the fly. So from our perspective, if we kind of recap that a little bit, we have an AI agent that can fully autonomously perform tasks. They can interact autonomously with the outside world. And if there's an issue, they can basically adjust their behavior, learn, for example, from the mistakes that they might have been doing or might have been performed in their actions. And then on the other side of the coin, we have the AI workflow, where we bring, let's say, the power of AI into a more typical, more traditional integration solution.
Okay, perfect. So, I mean, very clear, but then also I hear the term orchestration happening.
Yeah.
So where does that fit? Is it more on the agentic AI, the agent side, or is it more on the workflow side?
A really good question as well. I think orchestration actually applies to both. So when we're talking about, let's say, these AI-powered workflows, of course, when we are consuming the capabilities of AI, and of course, especially large language models in this case, or generative AI, we need to have some sort of capability to basically map out what each, or what each AI is doing at which step of the overarching solution. And one key difference there that I actually forgot to mention in the taxonomy section previously is that the AI-powered workflow is typically a deterministic workflow. So it always follows the same pattern, whilst an AI agent or an agentic AI solution is able to be non-deterministic, so it can have multiple different paths to the same goal. And if we talk about orchestration and how does that fit in, of course, the orchestration in the AI workflow sense is simply the capability to say that, hey, first the AI does this, then this, and if this happens, then you do this. So kind of like very typical workflow automation or workflow orchestration capabilities, as I think everyone is pretty familiar with, at least hopefully. And then on the agentic side, then of course we're talking about orchestrating how different agents are working together. But because it's a non-deterministic system in that scenario, of course, the approach is slightly different. So instead of strictly defining that first this happens and then the next thing happens and then the next thing happens, there you basically say that, hey, here I have an agent that can perform this task or function. Here is another agent with a different capability, but we let the agents sort out kind of how they want to talk to one another. And the orchestration is just about kind of creating the team of agents to work together.
Okay, very clear. Why do you feel like now is the time for people to be really talking about this? And so obviously AI is being thrown around everywhere and maybe being even put into some software that maybe it shouldn't be put into. But why do you feel like this is a hot topic, or has there been something that's triggered this kind of?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question, and there might be like a controversial answer to that as well.
Let's be controversial.
I think kind of like if we look back, let's say a couple of years to 2023, maybe 2022, we saw like the advent of ChatGPT, basically that ChatGPT popularized large language models and deep learning and basically generative AI for everyone. And I'm pretty sure that there's very few people probably on the planet who haven't at least heard of these types of concepts yet. But of course, kind of the downside of that is that once we reach kind of the top of the hype cycle in terms of generative AI, especially in the chat sense, we basically kind of maybe got left behind on the very fast and rapid development that has been happening ever since. So of course we are getting new, better models to be even smarter when we're chatting with them. But the big advance, the big leap, and I think this is the key topic here, is now we are at a stage where we can actually reliably start building AI into those autonomous functions. So actually let AI perform the task. So not only chat, but take the next step and be part of those business processes, maybe be part of those automations. And of course, if you think about it, that's really opens up a whole new world of possibility. And I think there have been different types of technologies, I think different types of triggers for this, but now we're getting to the point that time is right to actually start implementing those full-blown AI automation scenarios.
Perfect. And then talking a little bit about kind of large-scale enterprises or organizations, I know that they're running a lot of different type of pilots, but then oftentimes they really struggle to maybe get the pilot into production or scale those kind of pilots because maybe AI is a little bit immature as a concept. Why do you feel like these companies are struggling a little bit?
I would actually maybe disagree with your statement that AI is immature. Perhaps I would say that the technology is actually very mature. It's very, very, very good at the tasks that it's suited for, and that we have built basically the framework around those tasks to support AI. And actually, even in some cases, AI is starting to be better than humans in certain types of tasks. But what we see again and again, why enterprises struggle with this sort of, let's say, higher level adoption of AI or general adoption of AI into their businesses is that they forget basically two things. So the first one, I think, is integrations. Maybe that was three things. But like I mentioned earlier, AI cannot operate in a vacuum. And even if you have the cleverest AI solution in the world that looks amazing on paper and is able to do all of these magic tricks, if you can't connect that system, that AI system, into your existing businesses, existing processes in an easy, transparent, and safe way, it's basically pretty useless, or it will always remain on the, let's say, outskirts of the business. And I think really that's the main, I think, issue that most organizations forget about, that there needs to be some sort of a framework, some groundwork done that enables the organization to take full advantage of AI. You can't just grab a solution off the shelf and plop it in and hope for the best. You need to have that integration and deep integration to different types of systems and business processes.
And I guess there's quite a big risk factor as well, because if you are really trying to integrate like AI solutions into mission critical systems and you're not completely understanding of what it's trying to do, I guess risk plays a high factor as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think risk, and also, of course, I would also say trust is one of the bigger factors there as well. So if you think about it, and if you think about, let's say, generative AI especially, I think there are two main issues there. That first of all, many players, like I mentioned, have forgotten about that integration capability, how we can connect AI to be part of those existing business processes and flows. But secondly, also AI sometimes can seem like magic. And actually, that is kind of partially true. So if you look at the research, we can't still really explain scientifically, like step by step, why it works. We just kind of know that it does. And that inherently is kind of a little bit risky. And of course, I would say we don't trust things that we don't fully understand. So I think from that perspective, now we are seeing, I would say, the second wave, and why it's triggering this, let's say, rise of the automation, and what we talked about earlier, is that now people are starting to realize that the AI solutions, they need absolute full transparency to everything that they're doing in order to be able to build that trust. And luckily, nowadays, the modern AI models are able to provide that for us. So even if we have a scenario where something goes wrong, and when you're working with AI, it will, trust me.
It always does.
You will never get to, let's say, 100% accuracy. But of course, you never get to 100% with humans either. But the change and the key difference here is that now we can kind of prove why it went wrong, and we can improve on that so that then it might happen differently next time. And of course, we have to take this into account from an implementation perspective. So we are able to, for example, bring humans in to make those decisions when we are uncertain or there is a mistake.
Perfect. I think that's a good way to kind of set the scene for the audience of what this kind of agentic AI concept is, especially within this industry. So let's move on a little bit to what are we doing about it and what does it really mean in the context of
Yes.
Frends. So overall, we have this concept of Frends Agentic AI, and this is kind of the title of what this webinar is about. But then let's talk a little bit about the features that we have within the platform that are supported through AI. So I believe previously we had the Frends AI Assistant.
Yes.
Which is basically helping to build those integrations for the developer workflow.
100% correct. So basically, AI assisting the user to get to their goal of utilizing the platform even faster, even better, even smarter.
And then now, recently with our 6.1 release, we've come out with the Frends Intelligent AI Connector. And that is not necessarily helping the developer within the workflow, but is actually helping within the process itself. So maybe let's talk a little bit about what the AI Connector does.
Absolutely. So I think when we covered kind of what this agentic AI is, and I think in the taxonomy we touched on these AI workflows versus AI agents as well. What we really want to enable for our customers with the Intelligent AI Connector is basically an easy and safe way to start bringing AI into those core business processes, to basically take that leap from the, let's say, pilot which failed to actually getting long-term sustainable AI solutions which provide long-term value month after month, year after year. And pretty much the ideology there is that you can start very small and then build on that as you feel more comfortable with the AI. So we've put in a lot of effort in making the, let's say, transition from a non-AI solution into an AI-powered solution be as painless as possible. But of course, as is in the spirit of Frends, in everything that we do, with extra attention to transparency, trust, for example, risk management, also around AI. And basically, once we start bringing all of these features together, we end up with the Intelligent AI Connector.
Sounds good, but I think it would be great if we had some kind of demo. Do we have a demo prepared?
We might have a demo prepared as well.
Let's hope for no demo effect today.
So let me quickly share my screen here so that then we can briefly explain what this is about. So here we have a very, very simple example of a fairly typical use case that, for example, integration platforms have been developing or producing. And of course, there are actually entire specialized integration platforms only for this use case. The use case is very simply, you get an email, the email needs to go to a team or a partner, but basically to different destinations in order for some action to happen. And how we can now actually introduce AI into the mix is that you can see in the Frends process picture here, we have a new shape that we're now calling the Intelligent AI Connector.
And I can see there's a little AI icon there.
AI icon. We want it to be extra clear, and we actually made it bigger than, let's say, the normal shapes in the Frends process, just so that we can also visually immediately get the idea that, hey, that's AI, that's not AI, to keep that distinction very, very clear. But as you basically can quite quickly see, the usage of the AI is very, very, very easy. It's kind of like prompting or talking to ChatGPT, but instead you do it within the context of Frends. You basically tell the AI what you want to happen, what's the goal that you want the AI to achieve. And of course, in this case, when we are, for example, routing emails or actually checking the tone of voice for the routing of the email, we can write, of course, directions to the AI, but more importantly, we can provide the AI with the data using the normal integration capabilities or the standard integration capabilities of Frends. So in essence, we can now tap into all of the data, all of the systems, and this is what makes the AI actually really, really powerful. And of course, what we really kind of want to bring in or maybe advertise here a little bit as well is that we can use Frends, the Intelligent AI Connector, using our, let's say, pre-prepared AI catalog that has quite a few benefits to it if you'd like, but we also do fully support this bring your own AI AI approach if you would rather use your own deployments to achieve the same end result. And yeah, I see Jesse looking at me from a time perspective that
No,
have to
plenty of time.
Move on here quickly. But just quickly to show, for example, now this solution in action when we would be actually analyzing an email. You can see that we are of course doing the tone of voice analysis. And for example, our sample email here, or the first one, we've now analyzed the urgency to be high and the customer to be upset. And in this case, we've now routed the email as an urgent issue to Jira. But of course, in the second part, or let's say the third example email here, where the tone of voice has now been low or urgency is low, tone of voice is happy, we can actually now fully automate that path and basically, for example, craft a response email to the customer, because in this case, basically the customer was thanking us for our excellent service. And that's why the tone of voice was determined to be happy.
But very urgent, because it should be an urgent thing, right?
Yeah, in that case, it should. Absolutely correct. But just to give you an idea of how easy it is to basically plop that in, use all the existing huge breadth of capabilities that Frends already provides, and then just plop the AI in and start expanding. And I think our recommendation is to start small and then build on that. So just try it out once in a single process, see how well it works. If you can get benefits from it, if you can get value from it, add a second one, third one, fourth, fifth, and you're on your way to basically from that pilot problem to a full-blown production usage.
Perfect. I think one of the things that we wanted to bring up as well is this concept of transparency and auditability and reasoning. Yes. So can you show a little bit more about, how it comes to that decision? And
absolutely,
there's lots of black box solutions out there, or plug and play solutions where you don't really know what the AI is doing behind the scenes. So obviously in regulated industries and whether it's finance or something else, that we need to know and have that kind of audit log.
Yes. So maybe just briefly here as well. So if we quickly show, for example, that the email in the first loop where we determined the issue to be urgent and the customer to be upset, in this case, we can see that the email subject has been system down, immediate assistance required, and the message is, our entire team is unable to access your platform and this is impacting our operations. Oh no. And of course, they are using power words like ASAP and things of that nature. So now that when we want to figure out how did the AI come to this conclusion that the urgency is high, tone of voice is upset, and the response type is human, we can actually open up the reasoning log, where basically we now see how the AI came to this conclusion. So first of all, for example, we can see that the first thing it did, it read through the subject. System down, immediate assistance required indicates a critical and urgent issue. That is correct. Then it analyzed the body. Then it analyzed individual statements within the body. And of course, in this case, I think the last decision it made was that because this is an urgent and critical issue impacting the customer's, let's say, business or operations, we can't use an automated response. So we actually needed to go directly to the urgent path and towards Jira. And this is really, I think, key here, that if you put in the same email and the same, let's say, input for the AI, you should get a similar result. And of course, this is how we can now build the trust by having this reproducibility of the behavior of the AI itself.
Okay, looks fantastic.
I agree as well. It's super exciting. I've been so excited in building and fiddling all kinds of AI solutions with Frends now that we've been able to do the release.
Absolutely. So we've had a rough overview of this now. So I think let's talk a little bit about what does this really mean in practice for businesses. So what really are those kind of benefits that you get from organizations? Where can we integrate it into? What are some of those kind of use cases? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So I think overall, what every organization should consider in this day and age is of course let's say the problem or the cost of doing nothing. And if we talk just briefly about that, because what we are now able to do with, for example, the Intelligent AI Connector, and of course, with even more, let's say, advanced solutions in the future, is we are able to basically take the next leap in any kind of automation scenario. And what that does is it increases the productivity, the efficiency of the organization. And of course, if you don't do it, someone else is going to do it and take your business if we kind of just oversimplify everything. But what we can practically do, even today, just straight out of the box, are some very, let's say, important use cases. So as an example, any type of classification work, previously very difficult to implement. So as an example, we just saw the email classification. So you might have like a customer service use case, or where you need to do that routing or have some sort of auto responses generated. Something that was very difficult to do without AI. Now, as you saw, it's just a couple of lines of text. So it's the twofold benefit. So the solution is actually much more intelligent and capable, for example, in this classification scenario, but the development time to get that solution online is also just a fraction of what it used to be. Perhaps like another good example could be that AI is very good nowadays in, let's say, extracting data from different types of sources. So a typical use case for automation and integration is that you have an Excel file, you have a PDF file, you have a Word document, you have just random text message sometimes. But those different types of, let's say, messages contain extremely valuable and relevant data for your business. It could be orders, it could be complaints, could be invoices, whatever. Very tricky to extract all of that data out. With AI, again, it's just a couple of lines of instructions, and you provide the file or the message and say, hey, grab this information from the PDF document for me, and then you continue with your normal integration capabilities again and again. And perhaps finally, I think would be very interesting. I could explain this, let's say, a use case we've been really interested in working a little bit more on recently, where, for example, we could have an imaginary customer whose main, let's say, focus is to sell out large-scale factory IoT devices that relate to manufacturing. And the business of the customer is that they're renting those out as a service. And previously, what the customer had to do is, of course, because they are connected to through the internet and they are IoT capable, the customer basically had a team of multiple people just looking at how each of the devices in each of the customer factories they had is doing, basically reading the instruction manuals for those devices, and then figuring out, do we need to have maintenance? Do we need to replace that? Is it going to break? Do we need to do something to maintain our level of business in that case? And with the help of AI, now we can kind of take one or two steps further. So we could, let's say, grab the manual itself for a device. We could grab all of the maintenance history data for the device and basically have AI compare the readings from that, let's say, that device to the manual and come up with actually the proposition or recommendation what should be done by that device. And in that case, unfortunately, we would be replacing, let's say, an entire person's job completely from like a 0 to 100 because AI is capable of doing that cognitive reasoning, complex data extraction, and working with a large data set all at the same time as well. And basically, I would say that the opportunities are pretty limitless.
Well, then obviously it opens up time for the person, the human, to do something else. You know,
build more AI solutions.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. I think one of the topics that a lot of organizations are thinking about at the moment is this kind of cost of replatforming.
Yeah.
So, and you know, they have a lot of legacy systems. You know, is this going to help with like, are they going to have to replatform their entire architecture?
Yeah, I think that's like that was a key consideration we had when we were developing the let's say Frends Agentic AI approach, is that we really wanted customers to have this path from 0 to hero without having to go through that, let's say, really expensive replatforming. And basically the way that we can enable that is exactly through what I showed you, that we can build those integrations that can connect and basically operate within your existing ecosystem, existing business or system landscape, as they have been doing with Frends for tens of years already. And we can gradually push in AI to the parts where it makes sense, and thus basically making systems that would otherwise be inherently incompatible with any kind of an AI solution work with AI, because Frends is now bridging the gap between that, let's say, technology divide that might actually be a reality in many of our customers now.
And I think another one of the concerns is kind of letting AI run the show. So I think there's always an element of making sure that we kind of keep human beings in the loop when needed, because of these kind of, let's say, hallucinations, or AI is not 100%. So obviously within the platform, we're able to put those kind of restrictions in place where, hey, AI needs to stop here and it needs to be checked by a human. And then they can kind of validate that this is actually okay.
Exactly. So human in the loop is extremely important in the trust building, but also I'd really like to mention also that you shouldn't go too overboard with human in the loop, because you might end up in a situation where you have an AI which is perfectly capable of doing everything, and then you have a human just approve. So it's a fine line of balancing between what you can trust the AI to do autonomously and where you should have human in the loop. And I think our approach, where we basically really try and define the use cases where we are super confident as one path for the AI to take, but then let's say cut it off at 50%. So if we think that it's like AI is capable of maybe doing 50% of the stuff correctly, then we can include human in the loop. So also it's a key aspect of implementing this production scaling AI, is that you have the thinking that maybe not today, but someday AI is going to be able to do this completely. But we need to now isolate that, let's say, section that the AI can do autonomously from the section that it can't, and then bring humans into that part only.
Perfect. In the interest of time, I think we need to move on a little bit. Let's talk a little bit more about the future. Maybe not the future of AI in general, but what does the future of agentic AI mean for Frends?
For Frends,
So we've got the AI assistant that came up previously. Now we've got the Intelligent AI Connector. What's coming up in the future?
Yeah, so we're definitely, what we're working on currently is, I don't know if any of the viewers or listeners are familiar with this acronym called MCP, but it stands for Model Context Protocol. And basically what that allows, that's a globally accepted standard of communication that allows the AI to now independently and autonomously talk to what we are calling tools. And the AI can then use those tools to independently try and achieve its goal. And that's really key to getting to that agentic AI, or the AI agent we talked about in the beginning, where the difference between the AI workflow and the AI agent is the capability to be able to action or function non-deterministically, and of course change its behavior along the way. So how we see, for example, Frends iPaaS or iPaaS in general kind of converging towards or morphing into is this sort of like a toolbox for the AI, which basically allows us to create access points that are well governed, secure, monitored, and centralized, and expose those to different kinds of AI agents. And of course, once you do that, once you build the groundwork, you implement that AI toolbox, then it's actually very easy to take any kind of an agentic AI solution into use, either inside the Frends platform or, of course, outside the Frends platform as well. So bringing this capability of being able to build an access layer to your business for agentic AI is really the next bigger leap we are working on. And of course, at the same time, I think we are looking into taking advantage on the more recent developments around MCP and AI models in general to even further improve the Frends user experience, and probably we will end up in, well, in a not so long period of time, in a point where you can basically interact with the platform just by writing natural language, and you have an AI who's operating the platform for you, generating reports, developing solutions, doing monitoring, things of that nature.
Perfect. Exciting stuff.
It is.
All right. In the interest of time, again, I think we've got just over 10 minutes left. So I think there's been some questions that have come in. So for the viewers online, if you want to, there's the opportunity to write some questions in here, but we've got a couple here. Are you ready, Asmo?
Yes, I am.
In terms of Frends and integrations, where do you see the greatest potential for ROI on the customer side? Is it through improving internal use cases or processes, or external customer-facing chatbots? And where do you see it personally?
Personally, I think the biggest value is in the core business processes. So that would be, if you are a manufacturing client, that's kind of from, let's say, order to invoice and everything in between, enhancing, automating, improving that. But of course, there's huge value to be had in let's say, implementing AI processes outside the core business as well. And of course, customer service is something that we are now like seeing extremely much of. And the reason for that is that its compatibility with AI is extremely high, and it's very easily understandable, because you kind of had humans doing the same thing, and now you just replace the human with an AI, and it's kind of much same but different in that sense. But I would definitely look a little bit beyond these sort of simple customer service or let's say customer facing cases, and also consider the inner workings of an organization.
Sky's the limit.
Sky's the limit.
How can we rely on the consistency of answers from generative AI? As many know, there can be quite a lot of variation in the responses, especially if the developer is not a fully blown like prompt engineer. So how do they go about that?
So what we've done with, for example, our Frends 6.1 Intelligent AI Connector is that we've created this catalog, curated catalog of pre-prompted and pre-configured and selected models, where we've kind of tested these out and, for example, figured out that this is the best and most, let's say, effective model to use for extracting data from any type of images. And then we also have a prompt to go with that, so that then the user actually doesn't have to be a superstar prompt engineer, because kind of we've done the heavy lifting already. We've done the prompt engineering and all of the let's say, tweaking and fiddling of different knobs in the AI model to ensure that transparency and consistency across different types of answers, so that then the user can focus on, let's say, those one or two liners that we just saw in our demo. And of course, because it's Frends and we do this with everything, if you want to, you can of course get rid of our prompts and build everything by yourself as well, if you really want to go down that rabbit hole as well. So we provide both options to the customer and user.
I guess that touches a little bit on the next question, which is asking if we support API calls for example, Claude or OpenAI.
Yeah, so basically what we're currently supporting is we have our pre-built AI catalog for the Intelligent AI Connector. Behind the scenes, that's relying on the Azure AI Foundry services. And that means that if you want to, you can hook up your own Azure AI Foundry, and through that, you have access to every commercial and open source model in the AI Foundry itself. And we also support this, let's say, fully bring your own AI approach with this technology called Ollama. I don't know, that might be not so familiar with many people, but I encourage everyone to Google Ollama. It's a service it's an open source service you can deploy locally to a traditional server and then deploy an open source AI model there. Unfortunately, at this point, because of the tight, let's say, commercial and I would say strategic partnership between OpenAI and Microsoft, Claude is kind of outside of that realm so far, but we're of course planning to expand the different, let's say, AI providers in the future. But pretty much, if you have the model, it's an open source model, you can get it. if it's a commercial model from Microsoft or OpenAI, you can use it.
Perfect. And then maybe a little bit more similarly as well here, is the connector able to process documents and images, for example, extracting from PDFs, being able to actually describe the image?
Yes, so we have a fairly extensive list of different file types. So not obviously, of course, not absolutely all different file types in the world are supported, but just to list a few. So various kinds of images, audio, PDFs, PowerPoints, Word documents, Excel files. Of course, anything that's just text, you can quite easily process. And of course, like a combination of different file types together as well. And of course, because this is kind of new for us as well, we've selected like a quite wide array of different types that we want to work with currently. But that's of course bound to let's say expand going towards the futures when we see how it's actually being used, and of course if we are missing something critical there. But I would say that for the use cases that our customers are currently considering and you're thinking about, you can almost 100% be guaranteed that the file type is supported already.
Good.
Brilliant.
Another question here. Are you planning on having a feature or a task that could prepend any process or an API with the MCP server?
An excellent question. So basically, what we're planning to do in the very near future is introduce what we're calling an MCP trigger. So you can think of it kind of like as an API management or API trigger, where you expose the integration process through the MCP protocol as a tool. And this is a little bit what I talked about, the integration platform becoming this toolbox. So this would be like the first step towards that. But of course, there's a whole lot of other, let's say, considerations and aspects that you need to bring in besides the MCP trigger. But specifically for that question, yes.
Yeah, good. Here's an interesting one. Are you planning on adding social media connectors as part of Frends process templates, or allow people to kind of share their own connector or share their own so the connector base can grow quickly in order to be able to support faster time to market?
Yeah, I think a very good question. And I think actually we have an initiative ongoing where we really want to strengthen the developer community around Frends. And I think one major part of that is to be able to package and create those connectors and share them with the world, and have everything, all the processes and everything in place to support that. When it comes to social media connectors, I think we do have some now. But of course, because our focus is mainly the enterprise integration use cases, so far we haven't seen that much usage for example, Facebook or Instagram or these other types of social media outlets. But there's nothing preventing us from going down that route. So let's see if the introduction of AI kind of expands the typical use case to encompass social media as well. Of course, when and if that maybe happens, we'll expand the official connector library to support more social media platforms as well.
Perfect. I think we're actually a little bit out of time. I think there's a couple of questions here left, but what we'll do is we'll get back to those questions after this webinar, and we can see who's written them. So we'll send an email, something a little bit more technical, something a little bit more about pricing. So yeah, we can let you talk to the account managers about that one.
Perfect.
But hey, I just want to thank everybody for being here on this webinar today. Thank you, Asmo, for having.
Thank you, Jesse, for having me.
Thank you very much. And I hope to see you guys again on the next webinar.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.